Te whātalo whātu I pa ia ma le malo se tatu atu nuu I le nei tu la le aso. Mua lava si I le vi inga ma whaftai le atua I lo nā alofa ma lo nā ngā le ai tātou. Ia so lava whātalo whātu I tina ma tamā tua lo nofo mai fo il whale ia ma. Tamata mai tātou polo kalama. O tātou polo kalama māsani nei o le Saili le Atamai o lo ilalo le wawa inga le tātou kolistu whātasi I nei mopusanga. Ia ma tātou presidente le sunga fo mai a Rose Bond maka iwi pato. O pa ia mau mamalu tutuila ma manua o le aleo o iei se upo le auauna. I se na whailea malape. Ai tau on o whapeat. Ia malo soi fua maua. Malo soi fua lau le lei. Langi e matafi I le alofa ma le anga lei o le atua. Ai ala mai o le se tātou nuti mea whātasi le nei tu aso. E ala le tātou o pongi o le nei whamue. A wā le whātatanoa inga o le tawala atu lea I le tātou polo kalama Saili le Atamai. Fia lava le anganga I nei afiafi po nei fwoi tu lao le aso. Ua maua se apa noa wha auro tātou tatala noa I fwoi ma se polo kalama. Ma tautia le au ngā ele ngata I tātou kolistu whātasi a o le tautua mo tutuila ma manua. O le polo kalama nei I lalo ainga kolisitu whātasi o le ofisa e langolangoina ma whea sosoani mo I lātou e le atoa le mālosi o le tino ma le mawhawhau. O le alawa ma whātasi e nei tūla o le aso le whaletua ia tawhai mamau tua tupuola o ia o le State Director o le UCEDD o le atu le awanoa I atawha. Se one sau noa mai fua ma whamatala mai foi le wing of tunu foi o le nei polo kalama ao ngā ma le matangofie mo tutuila ma manua. Ua lewa ona iei polo kalama nei I le tatu atunu. Tele foi tautua ma le ao ngā foi o nei whaletua I le songasonga I suenga o mea e whai ia le polo kalama a wālawa ia tātou whanau ia mai o lo ato toa le tino ma mawhawhau. Good evening, American Samoa, and welcome to Saili le Atamai. And boy, I am so blessed. We are blessed this evening that we have Tawhai Mamau Tua Tupola. She is the State Director for UCEDD, and I'm going to give her the floor, or give her the floor. Is it right?
Yeah, you're right.
So she can talk to us about this wonderful program that she is doing here in American Samoa, and also for our college here at Mapusanga. Yeah, malo soy for Moa Tafa. Thank you so much. I know you've been so busy, and we met on the road, and you're saying, "What is this? What is it? What is it?" And I'm going, "Hey, you're a pro. You're good on TV. Come on, let's talk about your wonderful program." So, without further ado, can you just talk to us about the program and the wonderful services that your program does for American Samoa?
Oh, thank you, Fatima. So yeah, you finally got me here at the seat after over a year.
Yes.
So our UCEDD, which stands for University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disability, existed here at ASCC since 1993. It was then under the leadership of that was run by the former director at the time, which was Dr. Irene Helsham.
Oh, yeah.
So she was the original person who helped get the program started. So just sharing a little bit of why our UCEDD is what it is. In the 60s, when President John F. Kennedy was president, he had a sister named Rosemary who has a disability. So of course, like any other family member that you want to see what can you do to improve their life.
Yeah.
So at the time, that was during the time period where if you had a small disability that they thought you looked different, You could be blind, deaf, born with Down syndrome, missing a limb. They used to institutionalize people. So you were automatically ID'd as you cannot live there. You have to live in this institution. So when JFK started to do funded more research projects to kind of look at these, why are they not living at home? Why are they being institutionalized? How do you make their life better? They then realized that a lot of these institutions were violating their rights. They didn't, the personnel that were working there didn't have the proper training. They didn't realize what they were doing were violating the rights of a person as a person. And also didn't realize that there were a lot of human rights violation. So from all these findings, that's when JFK had signed it into law that said there are going to be 3 programs in place to make sure that this does not happen and make sure people start to live with their families. And it was a program called OPAD, similar to OPAD here. And they were to provide legal representation to represent people with disabilities to protect their rights. Then UCEDD was created because we're in the position at the college level or university level to train personnel or create career pathways that while we're grooming new professionals to go into the workplace, they're aware of the rights of people with disabilities, that it doesn't happen in the communities. So we have these skills in place. Then they created what they call the Developmental Disability Planning Council, which is run here by Norma. And they provide education and information to policymakers and kind of get the state plans to kind of have these coordinated activities. So we work together to make sure that the rights of people with disabilities are protected across all levels. So it could be education, it could be housing, recreation. So being here at the college, this is what we do. Many people think that the UCEDD is just another special education program, but at that level, we don't do special education at the college because they're adults now. They're already prepared. So we do training programs, like right now where we currently have an American Sign Language Interpreters program, training program that we're working with the University of Hawaii. So we have some special education teachers that are currently now going through an interpreters training program. Once they finish that, then they go through a certification to be certified as interpreters. So we do projects like that, and then we also do other type of certification training. And then at the community level, we try to work with the workforce that to try and enhance the services, how they deliver to the people with disability and the aging. And then we do research, we do a lot of dissemination of information. But during time of COVID, of course, funding came out. So we applied and we realized that, well, not just we, but Congress at the federal level realized that there were a lot of people with disabilities that were not getting access to vaccines. There were a lot of people with disabilities that were affected from COVID, being isolated. So we received a couple of COVID funding to support social isolation, hence where the iPads came from. So we call that assistive technology in our language. And it was basically to kind of encourage people with disabilities who are isolated at home during the time of social isolation, that they can use this iPad and they can still engage with families. It was to help them maintain that personal contact, also to use it for telehealth. So when we purchased some of the iPads, I think it was last year, we were not affected by the pandemic. However, as it was coming in, the need at the time was to respond to repatriation. So we haven't forgotten about the disability community, but we responded to the repatriation by making sure people with disabilities who were part of the repatriation program were able to stay in contact. So the social isolation was still there while in quarantine, hence why we pushed out the assistive technology iPads. But so everyone thought it's like this large funding opportunity, but the funding is really very small. We were working with less than $100,000 just for the iPads at the time. But we, in our office, we call every funding we get in the UCEDD, we call it our 5 fishes and loaves of bread funding. Because it's small, but the impact is great. So we try to find, we try to get very creative how we're going to use the funding, that it has a major impact that meets a larger audience that they can benefit. So that was hence why we were trying to focus on the repatriation. Now we're focusing on the quarantine now that the borders are open. At the same time as we were phasing out of the repatriation, we were still trying to push out the iPads to some of the people with disabilities who serve on our advisory council. So we were still trying to make sure we met the requirements, but then also expand the requirements to meet this response to COVID at the same time. So lots of things that we had to do, but during the planning, we also built relationships. So I'm always grateful for my relationship with the Department of Health and the leadership from headed by Motusa and his team.
And not only the Department of and the government, but you also work together collaborating with the private organizations that would come out and ask you for help. And the blessing that I feel for our disability community is so awesome now that we recognize them and make them feel important and make them feel that you're part of us. You're part, you can do it. And all these things that your program has offered for our disability community, that I see a lot of them now out in the open. Some of them working, and that was your job also, is to help them find jobs for our disability young kids or mothers and fathers that and you see that big smile on their face when you see them working, and it just is just full of joy, and they're so appreciative that this has happened to them. Now I know that this is not the only thing that you have done, and you have gone up, further up, and you stepped up more with the program. Talk a little bit more about how, I remember that you have taken some kids off island on games, on these Olympic games and stuff like that. Now, at that time, I see the kids and the parents are just so full of joy and happy. And you had to take this group of disability kids to those Olympic Games. Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, sure. So so I'll just share a little bit about the history behind Special Olympic. So Special Olympic, way back, I think it was in the mid 70s and early 80s, was originally developed and supported a lot by the Rotary Club, then later on the Lions Club. So the Special Olympic was active, and then it went dormant back in 98, and then it was kind of inactive for many years, change of board and so forth. And then, so the beauty about attending advisory council meetings is that you meet new people, you hear what's going on the ground, and you walk away with information of, okay, so how can I contribute to the issues that were discussed in these advisory council? And in this advisory council, there was a parent that stood up and said, don't we have a Special Olympic? You know, my son is in exit the special education. There's nothing for him to do. He doesn't have a job. He can't go to college. You know, I need him to do something. So then, you know, I listened to that, but I didn't really think too much about it until the next day. I just so happened to go to a maternal child health advisory council, different meeting now. The next day I heard Dr. Maria Gayapa at the time, who was in the meeting, she brought up Special Olympic and said, oh, don't we have a Special Olympic? And then I took that as a sign from God. It was like, okay. It was a God-given sign. This is what this is why you're here. You need to go and figure out how to get Special Olympic going. So that was why we did the research, and then we were able to kind of bring it back together and make it active again. And what we realized is that when the Special Olympic formed again, yes, I can see why there was a need to have it in place, because while people with disabilities are waiting for a job, while they're while they may not be accepted into college for whatever reason that may be, there's something for them to do to keep their life moving forward, to keep the interaction going, to keep them going and building relationship and meeting new people. So that was what we saw. We saw that. So our Special Olympic is under Asia Pacific, which is out of Singapore. So they got their first experience in Australia. So that was their first competition. And the fact, and you know, this is the reality of what we see here in our community. People with disabilities are usually just, we see them, you know, more of a pity. But when they went to perform at the Olympics, they came back a whole new picture what they can do. Yes, you know, and then they returned with these medals around their neck, and they say, "Hey, see what I can come back with, and you did it."
Oh my God, what a joy to see them come with and showing off their medals and full of smiles and happy. You know.
So they got the attention of the government and the community of what they can do, but it wasn't this attention like, oh, give it to them because they're special.
No,
it wasn't that. It was a fact of, hey, did you know he won the gold medal? Hey, did you know
they would come up to you and say, did you know I won a gold medal? Oh, that is so beautiful.
It was more of a positive vibe in the community at that time. And it was always this, I would get emails that, hey, what's the latest update? You know, and from people who never was on the radar of interest, you know, interested in the field. But
very
it was
true.
It was a great
because
experience.
I think they went 3 times off island on these games. Huh?
Yes, Australia, the LA World Games, then
they went to
Dubai,
Samoa,
Abu Dhabi, and then so we were coordinating a football competition with Western Samoa last year, but you know, COVID. So we're just now starting the conversation again to do more of a Pacific football competition.
You know, I take my hat off to you, Tafa, for all the wonderful work that you have done in this program for our disability kids. And also, there are some adults too that are, you know, that need all the help that they can. And right now, they're just normal, just like us now, and they feel that way too, you know. And the education that you have taken out to the community and to tell our community, no,
Yeah.
they have, they can do what we can do. It's just that they have a disability, but they're,
They're capable of doing a lot of things.
yeah.
And I just wanted to kind of like just correct a little bit earlier about the hiring of people with disabilities and placing them. So we hired one of our employees.
Yes,
So I wanted.
Sina.
'Cause I'm saying this because this is Disability Employment Month.
Okay.
So we, one of my employees, I hired her from Voc Rehab. So Voc Rehab, they did a lot of job coach training and so forth. But her work experience was under Goodwill at the time. So when we hired her, it was the mentality that they can do custodial jobs.
Yeah.
So when she came over, she was trained to do a lot of custodial work. And then I saw that she could do a little bit more better than custodial work. So I think we went and got this. At the time, it was typewriters. It wasn't really computers. So we got her this software program to learn typing. She did a little bit of that. So now Sina, she does our procurement, PR, purchase request form. The staff, they get the invoice and they usually just give it to her, and she does all. She
knows exactly where to go, and
she types it up on the form. She routes it for signature. When I tell her, oh, where is it at right now? She'll say, oh, it's with the president. Oh, it's with the procurement's office. Oh, it's at finance.
Yeah.
So she has this way of logging and documenting. So it was a hidden skill that she had, but just wasn't really flourishing because she wasn't given that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I really believe that a lot of our people with disabilities can do more than what we think they can. I just think that we need to shift from the fact that they can only clean.
Yeah.
And I also want to do a quick shout out. So when she first worked here, many of our own employees here had a difficult time communicating with her. As a matter of fact, they didn't communicate with her because they felt like she didn't know what she was talking about.
Yeah.
And then as they saw how she was telling them what needed to be done, and that she did the follow-up, our college environment started to be more receptive, right?
Yeah.
But this goes back again. It's the exposure, right?
Yeah.
If we were to expose them into a more inclusive environment, more people be more receptive of people with disabilities. So now outside of the college, so we have a vendor, GHC Reed. They come and deliver our water, and the guys are really great. So when they bring in the invoice to be signed, they don't talk to anybody. They only talk to her.
Sina.
They only talk to Sina. They give her the invoice. They tell her where to sign. She signs. She gives it back. And then they'll tell her the next schedule. So there's this ongoing communication with the vendors. But there's no question of her capability.
Yeah.
Right? So I think as we expose more people with disabilities out in any other setting that we would like to be seen in, we tend to be a little bit more receptive and don't see any differences. We see more of the similarities.
Yeah, and just accept them.
Yeah.
And be nice to them, and to understand them, and to talk to them nicely, and because Sina, she understands very well when you talk to her.
Very quick with her wit.
Very quick, and she'll answer you right back. So like you said, there are some disabilities that are hidden. Their smarts and everything are hidden. Maybe they were afraid to come out and say, "Hey, I can do it. Just tell me what to do, and I'll do it."
So today we were at a Voc Rehab Advisory Council meeting, and the folks from ASG WIOA office was present, and we were engaging a lot with possible network connection, and I was really amazed with the numbers of employment of people with disability in the summer youth program. I think it was last year. For the past couple of years, out of all the slots, they would hire about anywhere from 800 to 1,000, summer youth
just
employees.
this past,
But just this past year, so all those other years, they only give 10 slots for students with disabilities.
10 slots.
This year, I was really, really grateful that it increased to 45. So the employment opportunities are now are opening the door for more people with disabilities to get jobs, you know, and be able to be seen as any other individual that in the workplace. So I was really grateful for the opportunity of having more people with disabilities to be employed in the program.
Yeah, that is so wonderful to hear that, Tafa.
I'm giving a lot of these people the free, what is it, spots on college.
Really? Well, I see also that you work also hard with the OPAD and all those government entities that deal with disability. And you're right there in the middle of it, helping out and China to help them also of the...
Well, I wouldn't say right there in the middle. I've matured over the years of being here at this, at a leadership level. I learned throughout the years that at community service, and I'm a true believer about community service, is that you build relationship with people who don't see you in this realm, right? So they see you outside of your element. And then when I go to other advisory council meetings, that's another opportunity to build relationships. I truly believe that UCEDD could not use the account of the fish and the bread, the loaves of bread, if we didn't have that type of relationship with other agencies to kind of like leverage these activities. So, every fish and bread account that we have, we really try to reach out to those in our network or the ones that we have a good relationship with to, expand and have a bigger impact with the work that we do.
This is such a wonderful program, Tafa, and I hope that we'll have another time with you to come again and let's talk more about this, because this disability community is very important here on island, and we just need to educate our people how important our disability community is.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time out from your busy schedule to come and share with us your program and the help that you are doing for not only for ASCC, but also for our people here in American Samoa. So on behalf of the President, I would really like to thank you, Tafa, for making time out to come and be with us this today on Saili le Atamai. Tuila manua o tatou polokalama na o tō saunoa. Whalongolongo mai fo e saunoanga fo e al tina po whalitua e Tafa. O si polokalama matamofie a wālawa lātou e langolango ina malosi e nei polokalama i mawhisosoani fo i mō lātou. O leo ato o le malosi o le tino ma mawhawhau. O nei lava i tau, ua tele lava tangata o si tatou atunu. O le ua amata o na malama fo i winga o a tatou disability community le wa iai nei. Ma ua mānai e fo i le vai atu, ma whalongolongo atu fo i saunoanga director. I le mawhai o na talatala noa i a tatou nei i a malatou awa o latou o e le ato toa le malosi o tino ma le mawhawhau. E ale wina fo le whapea o ele ai o e le mawhai o na whai e lātou ia i ni ngā luenga o e mawhai o na whai pa e mawhai e lātou o na whai pe a tātou ngā lulu e whātasi, bring them into our community and with open arms and help them out, right?
To be seen as equal.
Yeah. So, tuila manua na wa tu whaalongolongo sa noa ngal whaltua nei ya tawha. Ia a tō wa ai atua I se talavou e fo itina mata mamatua fo I wāwhaina. Ia aua, tala noa iai apo mai sosoani iai e a fo I o le mea nā lai mana o e lātou ia tātou ngā lulu e whātasima tātou whawhaiwhai mea whātasima ma lātou o le o ato toa ma malo si tino ma mafofau. Ia au tātou polo kalamana talo sia ia wa whamalama ino tō whingalo I saunoanga fo I al whaltua e hata wha. Tō e maua se teimi o na tō su mai fo I leo whaltua nei. E tātou fitu wha e fo I polo kalama matangofie o lo o whaiwhai pēr e polo kalama a wātu tuila ma manua. Ia e fo I matatou I nei le kolisi tu whātas. A whailawa wa e se upu ua pa o papa pele longo maadie tuila manua I lo whaalongo mai. Ia, whamangalo mai le au auna. Ai au, whamanui atu le atua I tina mata mama atua. O au o whātima fo me nālen kia o rei, tō whāsui fua.